from the at-large committee.
We'll take a look at the lineups, and we'll start with Brown, who'll be in lane number 1. The Bears, again, just saw their undefeated season end at first varsity. Their JV will look for some reduction, led by Emma Butel this stroke. They're a very strong boat at the JV level. The race has started as our timer is rolling through 5 seconds. Important JV race. Brown in lane 1 will bring you the lineup for Yale in lane number 2. Yale led by a freshman Coxon, stroked by a senior Mikey Schreiber, and a really strong Yale second varsity boat as well. In lane number 3, it's Princeton, and Princeton again now looking to go 1 and 2, win the varsity, win the second varsity. Harvard Radcliffe rounds out the field. They are your final group, led by Emily Nellis, a sophomore stroke. She's really strong in that second varsity boat for Harvard Radcliffe in the black and white. An important race for Harvard Radcliffe, important race for Brown to get some momentum back after they see their varsity 8 lose for the first time. And now you got to think Princeton, Dave, is buoyed by what they just saw from their first varsity. Maybe the second varsity will be emboldened here to go out to a really strong performance.
Well, obviously they don't know what's happened at the other end of the lake, but it is their home course, and they know what they're doing. And these 4 crews are certainly among the more experienced. They've got a great deal of depth throughout the program. Brown's rowing at 40 strokes a minute, not unexpected. They are a high-stroking crew typically.
Brown is first right now. Looks like Yale is sitting in second, Princeton third, Harvard Radcliffe fourth, but no huge gaps between any of the groups yet. It's another one of those sister-on-sister battles again for the Bozinis. Corinne in the Harvard boat and Tara in the Brown boat. Corinne is senior, Tara the younger sister for the Bears. She's just a sophomore.
I think Princeton and Yale may be right up there with the leader. It's very close among the top 3. Only Harvard trails.
Princeton led by Lauren Barnard, a freshman in this boat, a member of the 2013 World Junior National Team. Looks like Brown has...
At 750, it is Princeton over Yale and then Brown, and it's a deck from first to third.
Yeah, about 1 seat apiece. Yale and Brown basically nose to nose, 750-plus meters in at 2:13 on the timer. Princeton has already won the Ivy League championship with the win in Varsity 8. They'd love to go 2 for 2 in first varsity and second varsity.
All these crews rowing pretty high. Yale's at 37, but Princeton and Brown are at 40. They're really up there. They may be on a little move here as they approach the 1,000, but these ratings are a little bit higher than what we've seen, not so much from Brown. Brown's always been a high-stroking crew. Princeton really putting a lot of energy into this first 1,000. That's helped them get way out on Yale, but not so much on Brown. Brown's maybe half a length back of Princeton now.
Princeton stroked by his senior, Anellis Payne. Junior Catherine Babiak in seat number 7. At the bow, it's that freshman Lauren Barnard we talked about, trying to help woo Princeton along to a second consecutive win. Brown is right there neck and neck, though. The Bears' second varsity was the national champion in the 2V race at NCAAs last year, so they are not a group that is familiar with losing very often.
And there goes Brown now, right as you speak about the national championship. They must have heard you because at the 1,000, Brown really turned it on, and Princeton is now responding. You can see the Princeton crew starting to give it more in the third 500. So just as Brown was about to pull level, Princeton pulled out to another 3 seats.
Princeton coxswain Emily Erdos took that check over her left shoulder and then called for the move. So the lead continues to grow for Princeton past the 1,000-meter mark. But Princeton and Brown right neck and neck. Brown, again, so experienced. There are 3 seniors in this boat that were part of that team at the NCAA championships last year, so they know how to win big races and close races. They will need a strong finish here, though, as Princeton is with them stride for stride. Yale in third, Harvard Radcliffe back and forth.
Yeah, Princeton sitting in gold position. Brown and silver, Yale a length back in bronze. Open water to Harvard. It is Princeton on the lead. Brown not being shaken by that. Brown is still charging, still focused on getting up into the front of the pack. They may be doing it. Princeton seems to have an answer for each of the Browns' challenges. Neither one of these crews are going to go down to anything under 40 strokes a minute in the last 500.
500 meters to go. You've mentioned that Brown is used to sitting at that high rate. Princeton's really had to push it. We will see if they have enough gas left in the tank for the final 500 meters. Clock is ticked to 4:52. Even with this wind, we've had good times, fast times so far today on Carnegie Lake.
Brown at 41, Princeton at 40. Yale starting to raise their rate. Yale getting back into it a little bit.
Brown with a slight lead now on the outside as they've made the move, looking for a Princeton counterattack, and Yale right there in third. Back to Harvard Radcliffe, plenty open water for fourth.
It's one length first to third. I think Brown is starting to get the momentum. Brown is starting to get a little bit of the edge. They're a beat higher than Princeton. Brown at 41, 42, Princeton at 40. Yale trying to make some ground up at 38 strokes a minute.
Well, how deep is the Ivy League for a second consecutive race? The number one team in the country being pushed to the limit by Princeton. Tigers won at first varsity, neck and neck with Brown here into the final couple hundred meters. It's anybody's guess.
I think Brown has a seat, but it's not much more than that. With Princeton in second, Yale just a length back in third.
So close into the final 15 strokes. Princeton and Brown
moving. Princeton has got some momentum.
It looks like Princeton may have even snuck back in front, neck and neck. Princeton already has won at first varsity. They move to the buoys. Tigers on a move, gaining more ground toward the finishing line. Princeton and Brown
it's
for the JV win. Here it comes to the line. Tigers and Bears. Look like Brown just barely at the end with an acceleration, but we will wait for sure for official confirmation. That was so close.
Incredible. Those last 15 strokes took both Princeton and Brown a full half a boat length farther ahead of Yale. They were really, really going for it.
Wow. Did that seem to your eyes as well, like a Brown win just slightly there at the end, Dave?
I think you had it. I think you got the call right, Bill. It was ever so close. We had to back away because we didn't want to be across the line when the referees were trying to judge the finish.
Wow, what a finish. Brown and Princeton to the wire. Looks like the Bears get a little bit of payback from first varsity with second varsity, but when we get the official time, there won't be more than a tenth of a second or so between those two crews going neck and neck.
Well, nobody should